the most important things that you'd like to see accomplished as a member of the board?
I think that, one of the things that I think that is disingenuous with community issues that we have a tendency to do in politics is compartmentalize them. And I think that in reality, a lot of the issues that we talk about, like public safety and housing and community strengthening, are all connected. A small business, economic development. And these are all connected and rooted in strengthening our community. I think that, having I was born in East LA in the late 70s. I know what a destabilized community, what it looks like and what can happen. And what happens is a vacuum gets created, a void gets created by which you do see crime skyrocket. You see people evicted, you see homelessness increase. And I think in order to really meet a lot of these challenges, of which I think, are significant, public safety is a huge thing that people talk about and all the door knocking that I've been doing. But if people are also, they look at these issues also nuanced and they're interconnected as well, because they'll draw direct correlations. I don't have to say anything with the lack of small businesses staying open on Mission Street or on San Bruno, or the fact that that a lot of that they've seen a lot of their neighbors get evicted. So I think that we have to be genuine and honest about these things, and that is what I'm hoping to meet those challenges through strengthening our community and building upon the structures that we have that already do uplift our community. That's the thing, is that I think if you're really going to serve in this role, you have to acknowledge that so much of this is already being held by the community. So how are we going to support the community and find ways to?
Thank you. Vice Chair Barnes.
Hi, Stephen. Nice to meet you. There are many candidates running in this district, in District 9. And so why should the DCCC endorse you? Why should voters vote for you? And how are you uniquely qualified?
I feel that a lot of it lies in ways that I was highlighting before, and that I feel that my experience in District 9 is a shared experience and reflective of a lot of residents of District 9. And it's kind of in the same way, I would say, as my time on the Entertainment Commission. Part of the reason I went for that role, applied for that role, was because in the industry seat, it came to my knowledge that there really had never been anyone that was sitting in that seat that was not a decision maker, that did not own an interest in a nightlife venue. And I felt that it would, not to discount that perspective, but it would also benefit the work of the commission to have the perspective of someone who is simply a worker. I think in the same way, for district supervisor, again, not to discount the perspective that any other of the previous supervisors have brought, but I think it would be good to have a supervisor whose experience reflects that of much of the residents and constituency of District 9. And I think that that is what sets me apart.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Chair Tung.
Do you mean Member Coles?
Oh, I'm sorry, Member Coles.
Yeah, hi, Stephen. In our endorsement questionnaire, in response to the question about what are your 3 biggest ideas to strengthen our economy, you had said, while it's important to reinvest in downtown, San Francisco is globally known for its communities, and we should prioritize investment in our communities. And yet the district that contributes the largest amount to our tax revenue has historically been the financial district in SoMa. So when we think about economic recovery, can you just elaborate on how you're thinking about deprioritizing economic opportunity or vitality in downtown versus the other communities?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much of a deprioritization. I just wanted to highlight that so much of that which makes San Francisco does lie in our communities collectively. And I don't think that I'm not saying that investment in downtown isn't important. It is. But we also need to funnel some of that investment towards our communities, towards our neighborhoods. And I feel that this is something that a lot of residents in District 9 share that sentiment. And we do have already, like I said, we have orgs and programs that are already holding so much of that, but they could use so much help, and they just need that help. They need that support.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Hasib.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Torres. My question to you is, do you support city enforced tent sweeps in District 9 and throughout San Francisco?
I don't think that sweeping in of itself is a solution. I think it literally, as it implies, only sweeps from the problem of homelessness from one district to another, and eventually from one municipality to another. So any implementation by which we are trying to get people off the street should be followed up by having a place for them to go.
Thank you.
Mr. Torres, let's talk a little bit about safety in the neighborhoods and and police and the idea of using technology. I mean, it's been brought up a couple of times in past interviews, and I'm curious to know what your feelings are in an area that does have to deal with with crime.
I think that, when it comes to public safety, one of the things that I feel we don't acknowledge, and I think a lot of law enforcement share this sentiment, is that the San Francisco Police Department is holding so much more than any one city department should hold. And the San Francisco Police Department is supposed to be our department of last resort. They are the enforcement of that which we look for in public safety. But public safety is also created by investment and strengthening of our communities. If we strengthen and invest in our communities and create programs that meet the needs and challenges of people experiencing homelessness, that are experiencing a lack of financial stability, of kids that are experiencing a lack of anything that's uplifting them, then I think that it will go a long way to meeting our public safety challenges, and quite frankly, of uplifting and supporting the San Francisco Police Department.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. That actually concludes our Q&A. You have 1 minute to make concluding remarks.
I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate the time that you've all given to me, also for being patient with the, chock-a-block that's happening today. I just, thank you for considering me for this endorsement. The work of the Democratic Party has never been more important than it is right now. I think that we are all looking at things nationally with a great amount of trepidation, what this means for the future, especially for vulnerable communities. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, and I think that we're all deeply concerned, and I think this is shared by all of you, about the prospect of what may happen. And just as I'm sure you know, this is shared by residents as well. It's the first thing that comes up, is that how fortunate they feel to live in San Francisco, and how they're just deeply concerned for the future.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Likewise. All right.
All the best.
Same. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. We do not have any buffer, but luckily we have a little bit of buffer baked in on all of these. But our next interview begins at 3:25 with Ms. Cheyenne Chen. And we are now moving into the last block of interviews, the D11 block of interviews that are scheduled for today. So I see that she is here in the chat.
Carrie's taking over.
Correct. See here, she's in the attendee block, so I'm going to go ahead and promote her to panelist and pin her screen. There we go. There we go. Okay. And now you are pinned to the screen. When you are ready, Co-Chair Barnes.
All right, here we go, D11. Welcome, Cheyenne. I'm co-chair of the Endorsements Committee, Carrie Barnes, and Michaela Alioto-Pierre is our other co-chair. Lanier is going to be our member. Coles will be doing our timekeeping. And just to give you a quick overview how it's structured, this interview for the DCCC, we'll have 1 minute for you to share, an introductory statement, followed by 8 minutes of Q&A, and then a 1 minute wrap up. So without further ado, I'd love to invite you to give your 1 minute pitch to us.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you everyone who are present in this afternoon. My name is Cheyenne Chen, candidate for District 11 Supervisors. So I am from China 24 years ago at age 15. To this country, I went to Galileo High School, then went on to college. And I'm now a mother with 2 daughters who are attending public schools. I have spent my last 24 years living in District 11. In my 20-ish years, I've been deeply rooted with community organizings and labor organizings. So I started at a young age with community nonprofits like Chinese CYC, Community Youth Center, CCC, Charity Cultural Centers, CPA, Chinese Progressive Association, which is, I'm very proud of, part of the program with PODER, which is a big cross-racial coalition building nonprofit that builds the future leaders, someone like me. So I'm very proud that to be a champion for our working families.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate for the 10 seconds remarks.
So for your first question, I recently read about the boldest piece of legislation that you would pursue if elected supervisor. I can remind you what it is if you need it, but I'd like to know, if elected, how you would implement that on day one.
Please remind me.
Earlier this month, you reported in Mission Local that you would plan to create free before and after school programs for all at schools and in community settings.
So I think it's really important, POPC, when POPC happened, nobody thought it was possible. So definitely before and after school program, it's really important for working family, someone like me who have the lived experiences every day. And it's, again, we have the highest population of kids under age 14 in the district. And then moms, oftentimes, I knock on many doors, moms like me is struggling with kids, sending kids to school and picking up kids. And again, some schools for instance, San Francisco Community School starts at 9:30 in the morning. So it is really impossible for a working family like myself, sending a kids to school if without any before school program. Some also schools, public school also close on Wednesday. Like my kids' school at 12:30. It's 12:50. Sorry. And it's also very important that to make sure that we have after school program for our kids to bring equity into the education system. Again, I think building coalition is really important. Continue to have the support from a very diverse coalition to work for it, to make sure that we use some of the money in POPC to continue to invest in funding a more equitable support system for families.
Thank you. Co-Chair Alioto, do you have a question?
Great. Thank you so much for being here, Cheyenne. I'm curious, Ocean Avenue has had some open storefronts and have some issues economically. And I'm just wondering if you have any ideas on how to strengthen some of your neighborhood commercial districts in District 11 and ways of bringing a little more vitality
Mhm. So to me, I think it's really important that our small business corridor continue to serve the local residents, because this is how we continue to have resilience and also continue to have the vitality of bringing people in the community together. Now that you mentioned about Ocean Avenue, I think Ocean Avenue is shared by District 7. It is really important that we continue to work past District 2 to make sure that we bring back the events on the street, block party. Also, I think it's really important to make sure that it's District 11 is such a strong working family class. We really need more footstep. So having really strong public transit that's safe, reliable, encouraging people to use public transit is another way to make sure that we have more foot traffic to the business corridor, not just Ocean Avenue, but also Mission business corridor. It's really important. And again, I think with more footstep, it's definitely going to increase more small business open and serving the needs of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Coles, you have a question?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Cheyenne. My
Hi.
question is about public safety. I believe approximately 60% of D11 voted in favor of the recall of Chesa Bodine. And I think you're on record as saying you don't recall how you personally voted, but you also are maybe generally opposed to recalls. Given the disconnect between your position on the recall of the former DA and your districts, what makes you think you're qualified to represent your voters' interest in improving public safety?
So again, I want to be very clear that I do not believe recalls. I didn't vote. I didn't believe in recalling Governor Newsom. I didn't believe in recalling Mayor Ely, or the intent to recall Mayor Ely. So I knock on so many doors already. I talk to so many people. I think community safety, to many of them, is making sure that we have safe public transit, we have housing, we have good jobs, we have opportunity for our kids. So I think this is really fundamentally that we have to educate and talk to more of our District 11 residents to create more communal spaces, to create more events that actually bringing people together. And I think it is also my commitment that to continue to understand the needs of our community. And I think in District 11, such a diverse population, it's really important to have language access. And I think I myself speak three languages, actually, Cantonese, Mandarin, and English. And with 55% API population in the district, and also with my big coalition support from like a group of people who speak Filipino and Latino. And then it's really important that we are actually having access and making sure that, we have the language justice that is approaching to all the residents in District 11 and finding their needs and meeting their needs. And I think this is how we continue to bring people together, work with each other, and build a safer community together.
Thank you. Member Cohen?
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name is Malia. I served 8 years on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. I represented the southeast neighborhoods of Bayview, Potrero Hill, Visitation Valley, and Dogpatch neighborhoods, and have spent a total of 15 years just in elected public life. And oftentimes, I'm representing communities that of which I am not a member of. Now, one of the things that I find noticing and quite honestly troubling is that you don't have a very diverse list of endorsers. So I recognize that the list that you've listed on your statement may not be the full and complete list. I'm looking to hear who and where your African American support is, particularly because in District 11, there is still a large bastion of African American homeowners that have been longstanding members of the community. So please talk to me about either organizational support that you have or individual support that you have.
So I think I want to remind the Mission Local, so EJ Jones, which is another candidate, and I are working really closely together with finding strategy to continue to strengthen the District 11, especially the residents in OMI. And I do recognize that. And I also want to bring in that my long working history with coalitions buildings. So I am, I think I share that from previous debate that, my first mentor was an African American, and ever since
just
then,
the names. You just list the names of people.
List the name that who actually supported me.
Yes, please.
Okay, African American, Anita Wheeler. I am also in the process of talking to Supervisor Sophia Maxwell, and I I also, again, I think my strategists continue to talk to the residents in District 11 and have a strategy with EJ Jones. And this is how we're going to continue to build coalition and bring people together.
Coalition building is important. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah, we're ready to move on to our 1 minute conclusion, correct, Member Coles? Okay, Cheyenne, with that, would you wrap up in your conclusion? Thank you.
Yes. I think with my conclusion, I will just continue to highlight, I'm a mother with 2 children. I live in an immigrant, multi-generation household. I'm a caregiver. I have 2 kids in the public school. Community safety is near and dear in my heart. And then I think I'm in the fight because I also want to make sure that our future generations continue to be invested, continue to have a voice, and continue to have the opportunity to chase their American dreams. And I also believe in District 11, such a very diverse community where we have to bring people together to work with people to build coalition. And this is how we can continue to enhance the beauty of District 11 and continue to embrace the beauty of San Francisco, which is the very diverse community and city. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Okay, well, this is the end, right? Thank you
Yes.
very much for your time, and you all have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I have next on your schedule, Co-Chair Barnes, Ms. Adlachisti, starting at 3:40. Luckily, Ms. Chisti is here and in the attendee box. So I'll promote her up now, but you can either give it a couple minutes of buffer or you can take her up early, your call.
I'm fine to keep going if she agrees.
Let's wait for accept the promotion request. There we go. And she's now pinned to the main box. Ms. Chisti, it's your call. If you would like us to begin your slot a few minutes early, we can, or we can wait till right at 3:40.
No, we can start. Hi, everyone.
Okay, welcome. I am co-chair of the Endorsements Committee, Carrie Barnes, here with Michaela Elliott-Pierre, co-chair. And Lanier Coles, Member Coles, is going to help us keep track of time. In terms of format, we'll invite you, Adla, to have 1 minute overview, and then 8 minutes of Q&A, and then a 1 minute wrap up. So with that, we'd love for you to take the floor and start your 1 minute opening.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adla Chisti, and I'm running for District 11 Supervisor. I'm running because I think it's really important that we have a supervisor that is transparent, that is accountable, and that does not use being a supervisor as a stepping stone for their while they're in office to be in another office. I think it's really important that we have common sense and smart policy, and I think it's really important to have a supervisor that will do that. In terms of my background, I'm a single mom. I have a 2-year-old. I'm a in-home support services provider for my parents, and I'm a member of SEIU 2015. And we also live in the same home my parents bought back in the 70s. And this is a really important piece of demographic. It's very representative of District 11, which is having a multi-generational home. And I think it's also in that same vein, it's really important that we have a supervisor that is representative of a majority of the people in that district. And with all of that, I've been an 8th grade science teacher and environmental planner for Caltrans. I went to all local schools in the district. I went to a high school called Lick Wilmerding, and I'm also a dispatcher. I'm post-certified Peace Officer Standards and Training.
Wonderful. Thank you. I will start with the first question. You recently shared that if elected, your boldest piece of legislation would be to champion universal child care funded by Prop C, which is gross receipts tax on commercial property. So I would like to hear how on day one you would go about implementing that.
Sure. I think it's really important to understand that District 11 has the highest 0 to 5 age group in the district. We have about 4,700 children, and which is really important. And it's an important piece of demographic of a lot of the folks who work multiple jobs. They have children, and they are taking care of loved ones as well. And on day one, for me, it's really important to have and ensure that Prop C money is allocated and dispersed quickly. I think a lot of programs are still waiting for Prop C funding, and I think having an efficient way of allocating this money to the programs, to schools, to early childhood education is really important, and ensuring that we have big Prop C go to after school programming as well, and making sure that we have support for our educators who are with the public school system. And so for me, the biggest on day one is going to be how do we get this money immediately to where it needs to go. So
thank you. Okay, I'd like to, Michaela, your question, correct? You're next.
Thanks, Carrie. Thank you for being here today. It's nice to see you. I am curious what your thoughts are on, the neighborhood commercial districts in District 11. You have, Ocean Avenue, for example, which, as one of the other candidates mentioned, is also shared with District 7. But the real questions here are, how would you support economic regeneration in some of your neighborhood commercial districts? And is that a priority?
Yeah, so I'm the only candidate so far who has publicly said that I support the mayor's legislation on business corridor density and housing for all. And I think it's important that we have and continue to support her vacant to vibrant pop-ups legislation and extend that to districts. And I think it's continued to support her first year free program for small businesses for the district as well. And we should also reevaluate and relook at vacancy taxes. And because, it was implemented back in 2021, I think, or 2020. And, we have not, there's an issue in the district where the vacancy tax is not working. And we need to look at why it's not working in order to ensure that the empty storefronts are being rented out. And I think it's really important that we have housing along Geneva, along Mission, and along Ocean Avenue so that we have vibrancy in the city. Vibrancy brings in clean streets, brings in safe streets as well. And it's all interconnected with housing, in my opinion, as well as having supportive programs like pop-ups and first year free programs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chair Tung, I'd like to invite you to ask a question.
Thank you. Hi, Adla. Good afternoon. A couple of people have mentioned the high number of children that live in the district that are under 14. What are your plans to support working parents and also the educational needs of this very important population in D11?
So early childhood education is one of the most important. I think it's important. I have a background in education policy. I focused on 21st century learning and social emotional learning. And I've also worked on Kamala Harris's Senate campaign in 2016. I started off as an intern and made my way up as someone, as her policy and legislative person focused on education. And I think it's really important that we look at the whole child, right? From age 0, even when the parent is pregnant. And I also have been a client of the Home's Prenatal Services and a client of the Birth Companion Community Center, which provides free doulas. And it was then when I had my child as well that I was able to link up and have these services while I was pregnant and into the first year of having my child. And these are important programs that we should look at and continue to support, because it's very important that we look at the whole child and not just have funding and programming siloed for certain pieces of programming for early childhood education. I think it's really important that we look at the big picture, because the payoff is really important for economic stability in families as well when we start early. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Emron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you, Adla. So District 11 prides itself in being a blue-collar district. It's a working class district, but unfortunately, poverty and income inequality continue to be a pressing issue, where working class families are spending more than half of their income on rent. So if you were elected supervisor, how would you assist families who are struggling to make ends meet?
I think, the cost of living in San Francisco is very, very high. Right now, we have working class families who are living paycheck to paycheck. I think it's really important that we have preventative measures in the district. Mental health is one of them as well. I think it's important that we have support systems for working class families as well. I mean, one of the biggest things in the district is that we're 67% homeowners, and many of us actually have ADUs in our homes. And I think it's important to have both home ownership education, because some of these homes face probate. And if they face probate, they end up selling the property, which is losing the wealth from the families. And I think it's really important that we have education, home ownership education, in terms of how to have a trust into the home. That was something we've faced as a family as well. We had a lien on the house, and we put our house in a trust. We went through the steps, and I think it's important to have support legislation for ADUs, accessory dwelling units in our district. And I think expanding that legislation, making it easier for families who are expanding to have ADUs in their homes. That was something that our family experienced as well as our family grew. We waited 5 years in order for us to even begin the process of having an ADU in our home. And I think these are the similar issues that a lot of the working class families in this district also face.
Thank you.
I think we can move to your 1 minute wrap up, right, Lanier? Yes. Thank you, Adla.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you guys. I think, again, I'm going to just emphasize that it's really important that we have a supervisor that's not only from the district, but to have a supervisor that's resilient, and a supervisor that is going to be fearless, because those are some of the things that I will bring to the table. And I think it's really important that we have a supervisor that's going to be representative of the community, of the district, on many levels, not only as a mom, but as somebody who is, my parents started off street vendors and they made their way and owned their own small business. And I think having that kind of representation, having a voice, that kind of voice on the Board of Supervisors, it's really important. And I ask and I urge, the DCCC to consider a 1-2 endorsement as well for District 11. And I think we have, amazingly qualified candidates in the district race. And I think, but, for me, again, I think it's really important that we have a candidate that's going to be representative and accountable.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Good luck.
Go ahead and, oh, there you go. Sure, move yourself. I have next on your calendar I guess we're a little ahead of schedule. I have Ernest E.J. Jones. Mr. Jones is scheduled for 3:55, and his team did text me and said that he should be on a few minutes beforehand. So I'll just text them one more time and let them know that
If we wanted to start early, we could. Yep. Although I like spending the day with all of you.
We'll remind members of the public watching, as well as everybody else on the committee, that we do have the questionnaires posted on the website, and there's a lot to read there. So I will share that link in the chat again. Grab it. Brew yourself some tea this evening and read up. Okay. I'm going to see where they're at. It's not responded to me yet. All right, here we go. Mr. Jones just joined. I'm going to promote him to panelist. And then I'm going to pin him into the appropriate center pane.
Hi, EJ, welcome.
We're
Hey,
running
everyone, can you hear me?
it's ahead of schedule. We can hear you just fine. And
Okay.
without further ado, when Vice Chair Barnes is ready, we will underway.
You okay to start a couple minutes early, EJ?
I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's go. Carrie Barnes, co-chair of the Endorsements Committee, along with Michaela Aliotta-Pierre. And Lanier is running our time clock for us, helping us. We're going to start with inviting you, EJ, to do a 1-minute opening statement, followed by 8 minutes of Q&A, and then a minute of conclusion. And if a reminder, if people would like to ask questions, put it in the chat with Stack. So thank you, EJ, and if you'd like to get started.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time today. My name is Ernest E.J. Jones, running for San Francisco Board of Supervisors for District 11. Born and raised here in District 11 in Lakeview, OMI. Born to a working class family. I have an extensive background working in affordable housing, as well as spending some time in City Hall and providing direct services. So really running because I love this community, because I love San Francisco. And I feel that I have the lived and work experience to be ready on day one to make a difference. Excited to answer any questions that you may have, and hoping I can do that well for you today.
Thank you. Okay, so as we know, government intervention is needed when there's a policy problem. And I read that you recently, EJ, said that your boldest piece of legislation, if elected, would be to mandate locks on first floor windows. And so I'd love to hear how you would go about implementing that if elected D11 supervisor, and how you would do that in day one.
Yeah, I think that was in response to something that had happened in the Mission District. We had and not for first floor, but for second floor. I think we had a young child fall out of a second story window. And that's something that we can easily prevent with simple legislation of having locks on windows. And that's something that I would work with our tenants unions, as well as our community members to support, as well as the other members of the Board of Supervisors to craft legislation that's fitting, but also doesn't hamper our landlords and our tenants from being able to live in a reasonably priced housing situation. I think it's a pretty simple step with pieces of legislation.
Thank you. Michaela, do you have a question?
Hi, EJ. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
My question is really around economic revitalization within D11, around areas such as Ocean Avenue, different parts of D11. What are your thoughts on revitalizing those neighborhoods and bringing some of our neighborhood commercial districts back with a bang?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the top priorities of this campaign. We definitely want vibrant commercial corridors, and I think the way that we do that is to, one, create a strategic marketing plan that is beneficial to all of our storefront owners, that really leverages the use of technology and social media and social media influencers to really let people know that District 11 has great places to dine, great places to hang out, and really utilizing that. But it's also making sure that the businesses that are currently there have the supports that they need to remain open. One of the things that I heard from a business owner when I had a conversation with them is that just the cleanliness of the streets in District 11 is a deterrent for some businesses, for some new businesses to open. And some of those new businesses could actually drive foot traffic. Another thing that I think could be very beneficial for our commercial corridors is continuing to support things like night markets, things like farmers markets, things like cultural events that bring people from all over the city and bring them to District 11. So I'm truly supportive of innovative ideas. And, I've been a champion of block parties here in the neighborhood. We just had the Excelsior block party. We're having another block party over in the OMI on the 27th. So those types of things drive foot traffic to our commercial corridors. And I think that's going to be important in the revitalization of our economy here.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Chair Tung.
Hi, I have a small child guest appearing today. EJ, thanks for being here this afternoon. I understand that you were a leg aide for Supervisor Safai in District 11, and that's where a lot of your experience comes from. I wanted to put you on the spot a little bit and ask you, what is something that you think that Supervisor Safai did not do well when you worked for him, and how would you do it differently?
I think that's a great question, and I've been fortunate enough to have to answer it a few times throughout this process. I say this often, and John's here, so I've also said it to him. I think that Asha and John were both very good at serving parts of our community. I think that they worked very well with certain organizations and certain members of the community. But for me, being rooted here in this community, I know the importance of being able to work with every single community member and every single community group. So I've pledged to make sure that we have an open door policy in this office for each community group, no matter whether they supported your campaign or not. And I think that that's going to be crucial for District 11, because as the forgotten side of the district, we can't afford to leave anyone out of the conversations when we're making decisions about this district. And it's going to be really important to keep solidarity between communities cross-culturally, intergenerationally, and across the 280 freeway. So I'm excited to do that and make sure that I build the bridges necessary to move District 11 in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
John can punch me later.
It wasn't too specific, so I think that's okay. They should be fine. John Avalos, I think you're next.
Thank you. I have a very similar question, and we'll give you a chance to kind of stretch out on it, EJ. So we have some really great candidates with deep roots in the southern neighborhoods of San Francisco who are running in District 11, yourself included. D11 may be one of the most diverse parts of San Francisco. And how is your campaign building bridges with other campaigns for District 11 Supervisor, and to what end?
Yeah. I think that District 11 is unique, and I just had this opportunity to share this with some other folks. When you look at the makeup of District 11, you have every race, religion, creed, gender identity across the entire district, and people are living in harmony. And that's not something that's new to District 11. This is something that has been a part of the fabric and the culture of this district for a long time. So when you look at the organizations that are here, when you look at even the candidates that are in this race, we have people that are representative of so many different backgrounds. And one of the things that I've said to each and every candidate is that I am prepared to, no matter what happens in this race, I'm prepared to work to make sure that we're able to bridge the gap. In April, we actually held an amazing lunch with seniors of Asian descent as well as African American seniors here in our district, and it was simply just a meal to make sure that those two communities had an opportunity to build the bridges and just to get to know each other, recognizing that our foods aren't that different. And once you get down to the nitty gritty of food, you realize that once there's so many commonalities, and being able to share a conversation through translators was really important. So, I've had conversations with numerous folks in the campaign, as well as Cheyenne Chan here in the campaign, about how we can make sure that our two communities who share so many of the same values and wanting to have safe, clean streets, wanting to have affordable housing, wanting to have economic corridors to be able to walk and shop on. And I've had those conversations with all of the candidates, but I just think that it's important to highlight that solidarity across the board, because oftentimes so many of our communities are pitted against each other, and that's not really something that either of us stand for.
Thank you. Member Coles, last question.
Hi, EJ, I'm Lanier. My question is about education. The Board of Education recall was as high as 65% in your district, and you've come out publicly saying that you were opposed to that recall. How will you convince voters in D11 who have a very high proportion of children relative to other districts that you are going to be child-centered when it comes to advocating for public education?
Thank you. I think that's actually a very fair question. I didn't necessarily oppose the recall because of the fact that, whatever the factors were, for me, it was truly about a feeling that recalls cost a lot of money. And I think we all saw the looming budget deficit. And in order to convince the folks in this district, I think they've seen that I have a proven track record of not only serving children, but also serving our school system. I have a proven track record of working with folks who are in the childcare space as well as the after school space. I have a proven track record of working with SF Board of Education members to provide resources for our schools. I have a proven track record of working with UESF to provide retention plans for our teachers. So, I think, going back to what I've said over and over again, my time here, my experience is really the proof in the pudding, and that's something that I could stand on. I think that members of this community understand that. When you look around this neighborhood, I have more signs and windows than any other candidate, and that's because people know me and people understand my impact on this community and on the families of this community. So, I can stand with that.
Thanks. Thank you. I believe now we're given time, ready for your concluding statement, EJ.
All right. Well, as I said, I'm excited to be here with you, and I thank you for the opportunity to sit in front of you today. When we talk about this district and when we talk about District 11, I've spent the most time doing the work here in this neighborhood. I can tell you that I've picked up more trash than anyone. I've worked on more affordable housing projects than anyone, and I'm the only person with experience actually working on legislation in City Hall. I kid not when I say that I've spent my entire life here. So I have connections to this community that are deeper than any other candidate in this race. So again, I'm going to lean on the fact that I will be ready on day one. This lived experience as well as my professional experience makes me prepared. No one has had to live through the violence of the Lakeview OMI and talk to parents when their children have been a victim of that. And these are real issues in our community still. So as a person that's running in this race, I'm really doing this for community. I'm really doing this for San Francisco. I can stand on that. And I'm happy to represent this neighborhood. And I'll be ready to work no matter what, November 5th and 6th of this year. So I look forward to having your support with that.
Thank you, EJ. Appreciate your time.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
EJ.
All right.
Nice to
Have a good one. All right. Have a good one.
I think we're just about ready to move to our last interview of the day.
That is correct. Your last scheduled interview is at 4:10, and we're again a few minutes ahead of schedule. Your last scheduled interview is with, again, fellow DCCC member Michael Lai. I'm going to promote him to panelist now. If Finance Director Lai, if you're ready to go early, and if Co-Chair Barnes is fine with it, then we can go early because it's the last one before they recess till tomorrow.
Does that sound good, Michael?
Well, I need him to get up. Okay, good.
Let's do it.
Wonderful. Okay.
And Co-Chair Barnes, go ahead.
I am co-chair Carrie Barnes of the Endorsements Committee, and I'm with Michaela Alioto-Pierre, my co-chair. We'll be running the meeting. Linear member Coles is taking the time. And in terms of format, we'll invite you, Michael, to do a 1-minute intro statement, followed by 8 minutes of Q&A, and then one more final concluding statement. So with that, you have the floor, and you can start your introductory statement.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Michael Lai, last on the day. Good to see some familiar faces. Here in District 11, I see my family story. My parents and I came to this country with $100. My mom bussed tables at a Chinese restaurant, went to public schools, played sports at my local Y. And I moved to San Francisco a decade ago. And I've always been about giving back. During COVID, the last 5 years, launched a new model of childcare centers where we provided housing for teachers, raised almost $18 million in the process. And now I'm on the board of 2 Head Start centers in D11. And I think at a time when the city's facing an $800 million budget deficit, when we have so many working families in a forgotten district, what I'm hearing on the doors is people want a competent leader to come in and be able to deliver on those issues. That's what I have done, and I'm super excited to be here and field your questions.
Wonderful. To start, I have been asking members, candidates about their bold ideas that they would want to pursue legislation for on day one. I believe, Michael, you shared that you would like to rezone parts of downtown to build a hospital extension as part of your bold idea that you shared with Mission Local. So I would like to hear how, if elected on day one, you would go about implementing that.
Well, I would say even before that, I would want to look at downtown. I mean, downtown recovery is so important to San Francisco's economy. There's been proposals for university campus. There have been proposals for commercial to residential, which I support. And I think one of the things that hasn't been talked about as much is potentially a hospital extension. Over the next decade, healthcare is the largest growing job category. In District 11, we have a lot of healthcare workers. And so there's a potential opportunity. I would want to do the analysis even before being elected to see if it's even feasible on parts of downtown for whether it's hospital or biomedical campus extension, just like Phoenix did, to create an extension and create well-paying healthcare jobs for our District 11 residents.
Okay. Michaela, would you like to ask a question?
Great. Thanks, Carrie. Hi, Michael.
Hey.
So coming off of that, I would be curious. I've been asking the candidates about their neighborhood commercial districts in District 11 and how you're going to bring vitality home. So yes, downtown is a very important issue, but
yeah,
District 11 is really known for being very neighborhoody, being full of a lot of our cops and firefighters and nurses and teachers. And so looking at those bold ideas, what bold ideas would you have for your district very specifically that would help bring vitality back to D11? I mean, not to say that D11 doesn't have vitality. I just mean, give it a little oomph to the neighborhood commercial districts.
This is a big focus of mine. Mission, Ocean, Geneva, San Jose, even Randolph and Broad. After COVID and talking to the small business owners, foot traffic is down 30, 40%. And I think compared to other parts of the city, a lot of folks don't shop in D11 unless they're from there. And so I think we need to think about this whole regional strategy of vibrancy in the Southeast neighborhoods. We need to take advantage of the fact that we have the Cow Palace. We have McLaren Park, where the municipal bond in November might be able to generate some improvements to bring foot traffic. So that's on the revenue side. In May, I helped organize a Asian food tour supporting 39 small businesses on Mission, Ocean, Geneva that brought hundreds of new customers. Then on the cost side, having actually opened and run 30 of these little micro daycares in Phoenix and San Francisco and managed people, I can really put myself in the shoes of the small business owners where their PG&E is up, their labor costs are up, their costs are going up at the same time that their revenue is going down. And so I would be proposing legislation to freeze some taxation for small businesses under a certain gross receipts level. I would be looking at going up to some of my state level endorsers like Senator Wiener, chair of the budget committee, or Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks of appropriations to be like, what bills are we putting next year around PG&E and capping costs there, which is affecting our small businesses, but also the working families of District 11. So that's the approach I would take, is sort of holistic. And also I've had some conversations with the mayor of Daly City, Justin Manalo, about how do we attract folks up from Daly City into District 11 since it borders, and there's a lot of family crossover.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Member Avalos?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Member Lai. Two-part question. The first part is, could you confirm that you moved into D11 just this year? Second part is, what's great about D11? What's so great about D11 is how much there's local boosterism here around our neighborhood corridors, our parks, our city services, how we're treated by the city. Many folks have long collaborative roots and experience working together in D11. As a recent arrival in D11, how are you better to represent the District 11 residents than the other candidates like E.J. Jones, who have committed their entire lives to the communities of D11 with great effect?
Thanks for that question. It's a fair question. I've been in the city for 10 years, and I did move at the beginning of this year because I love this place. It has the diversity, the community that I have not seen in other parts of the city where I have been a renter, Mission or Mission Bay or other places. And when I go and knock on doors, 1, 2, 3 out of the 10 people that I talk to are also newer to the district in the last few years. And I want to make sure that they are represented as well. And when I talk to people, even folks who've been here a long time, they say that they're not looking for the person who's been here the longest. They're looking for the person who can do the most in the future for the district. And so I'm really proud to be backed by my friend Ethel, who's been here 91 years, born and raised in the Excelsior, who just wrote her first ever political donation to me, $100. Or Margarita Sandoval, her family came from Nicaragua and bought a home in the 1960s. Or Leela Russell from the Italian American Social Club, who's been here 50, 60 years. And in terms of representation, look, I have respect for EJ and others. I do think if you look at some of the views of the district, it voted for the recalls, the way it voted in the March elections, I'm actually the only candidate who's represented the district, the whole district, on some of those issues. And regardless of whether people support me or not, I'm here to listen, I'm here to work with folks, and I'm doing stuff now, like raising $30,000 for an Excelsior neon sign or raising money for street festivals. And I think there's a lot that I can bring to the table to fight for the district in the future. And John, I look forward to working with you as well on childcare, workforce housing, other areas.
Thank you. Thank you, Avalos. Member Glada?
Thank you, Chair Barnes. Hi, Member Lai. Just two kind of yes or no policy questions for you. Thank you for speaking about PG&E electric rates. As we all know, this is impacting not just repairs in San Francisco, but throughout California. Do you support the city's efforts to acquire PG&E's local electric assets and expand public power to serve all of our cities? So that's question one. And then question two, Also, zooming out to the state level, are you supporting the November ballot measure Justice for Renters Act that would repeal Costa-Hawkins and help expand rent control in California and here in San Francisco?
On both, I actually haven't. I'm the kind of person who wants to dig through the details, the policy details, and dig through the budget trade-offs of everything. So I haven't done that for either of those two things. So I would want to, if you want to send it to me, I'm happy to read through it, sort of give you my take on those issues. On the first one, directionally, it sounds right. I'd want to make sure it's efficient and, feasible.
Okay. Thank you. Chair Tung.
Thank you. I still have my small person here on cue. Member Lai, I wanted to ask you, I did see you at the Ingleside Public Safety meeting with Captain Hurwitz last week. And I wanted to ask you about public safety, since a couple of other candidates have raised it, about that being, and in fact, a lot of candidates have raised it today, about that being number one in terms of things on the minds of voters. And what is your public safety plan for District 11?
Yeah, so I think public safety for District 11 is a few different pieces. The first thing that I hear over and over on the doors is slow response times and stuff to things like property theft, catalytic converters, or whether it's robberies. The second thing I hear a lot is pedestrian safety. There's a lot of children, there's a lot of elders, big car culture here. The third thing I hear is stuff around blight and the feeling of safety. Like, we have a few more homeless folks down here, not as much as I used to do volunteering work in the Tenderloin, and not as much as there. So for those three different things, first, as Captain Hurwitz said at Ingleside, 15 years ago, her officer workforce was 120 and it's now 63. And so I would work on fully staffing the police department and making sure that they are efficient and they are accountable. The second thing for pedestrian safety is we need to be working to increase enforcement of some, traffic enforcement has gone down, 99%. I've heard from a lot of families in the district where they're like, there's just cars Hollywooding down certain streets. That doesn't make me feel safe. Enforcement at the same time that we are building out protected bike lanes, we are building out bulb outs, we are implementing speed cushions and stuff, such as on San Jose, Alamany, some of these on-ramps onto 280. And the third thing around blight and homelessness, blight, I've talked a little bit already to Michaela's question. I'd say for homelessness, I'm very supportive of expanding treatment options for those who have addictions. I'm very supportive of expanding mental health beds. We have 66 at SF General right now, and I've been endorsed by Supervisor Raphael Mandelman, and we've talked a little bit about partnering on that work, and ultimately making sure that folks get the help that they need and the care that they need, and they don't just stay on the streets.
Thank you. I think given the time linear, it's the 1 minute conclusion. All right. So with that, Michael, could you please help us bring this day home? Thank you.
Yeah. Look, I didn't think I would run for office. The last 5 years, I mentioned I worked on two of the biggest issues in District 11, childcare, workforce housing. Last year, the Head Start Center I used to teach at in the Tenderloin shut down because the parents in the Tenderloin no longer wanted to send their kids there because of the street conditions, the needles, the homelessness. And I thought to myself that we need outside entrepreneurial leadership to help solve some of these issues. So I'm really excited to do everything in my power, whether it's taking connections. Last Monday, we did an event with Andrew Yang, who ran for president in 2020, connections at the national level, the state level, the local levels for some of the supervisors to fight for this district. Whether it's taking my ability to creatively problem solve at a time when we have an $800 million budget deficit, having worked on this joint childcare workforce housing solution, to fight for public safety, to fight for increasing affordability for housing and for childcare, to fight for just working families in general and making the government deliver outcomes again. I'm going to do everything I possibly can, and I'm hoping to have your #1 sole endorsement. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, so I just wanted to make a couple of remarks. I think Michael is done. I don't know, Bobak, if you'd like to move his status from panelist to participant. But thank you to the candidates who joined us today. Sorry, did you raise your hand? Oh, thank you for the candidates who joined us today. Thank you for the DCCC members who also joined us and asked really insightful questions. We are taking a recess, otherwise known as a break, until tomorrow when we are going to be interviewing the mayoral candidates starting at 9 a.m. Same time, same place, Zoom. There's a different link, so be sure that you've signed up for the correct one for Sunday. We will conclude our journey tomorrow at about 11:55 a.m. Please feel free to read the questionnaires in advance and pull any questions from those if you choose to ask them tomorrow as well. Thank you to Michaela, my co-chair of the endorsements committee. Thank you to our timers today, Lanier and Cedric. And with that, I think we are concluded.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you, John.
All right, I just want to repeat one last time. I shared it in the chat and I shared it with all attendees and panelists. We split the Zooms in half. So there's a second link, a different link for tomorrow's interviews at 9 a.m. I emailed it to all members. I noticed it out to everybody on our mailing list. And I put it in the chat just now for anybody who's still here. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, boback@sfdems, or email info@sfdems. I monitor that one as well. And if you have any feedback or other thoughts, shoot it to info@sfdems, and I'll make sure that co-chairs Alioto Pierre and Barnes see it. Thank you. You all have a wonderful evening. We're recessed until tomorrow.
Thank you so much.